Jill is an angel for our fellowship and has been for many, many years. She has taken care of so many practical parts for the fellowship, serving on the board of directors for years, serving as president of the board of directors, and giving countless volunteer hours and leadership to hold everything together. In addition, she has the other side of the practical, spiritual side, the healing side, her healing modality. She offers her healing modality as her work. She has offered leadership for years with the Inner Light Consciousness material, teaching it, and blessing us all with the spiritual side of herself as well. So let's give Jill a big fellowship welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The reading we had in the bulletin was actually not something I chose, but I love it. And I wanted to say that whenever I say happiness during this talk, I mean what it says. Love, joy, touching God, that's happiness, that's love. And that's what I'm talking about when I say the gift of happiness. I mean, when you feel love and when you feel joy. As you can imagine, the last couple weeks I've been thinking a lot about happiness because, of course, once I pick a topic for speaking, all manner of stuff opens up and says, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Because, of course, there's areas that I need to improve on, of course. And it's also areas that will bring me subject matter for talking. And so I've been thinking a lot about what makes me happy. And as you can imagine, growing up, like many of us, I wasn't very happy. I came into adulthood not very happy, and I couldn't figure out why. I looked at things that made me happy for a while, events that made me happy for a while, but there was just an underlying sadness that I couldn't seem to shake, and I didn't know why. So I got married thinking, that'll make me happy, won't it? Well, he was certainly unable to make me happy, and I unable to make him happy. So then, leaving him, which really was a good idea, released me at least from the yoke of making him happy. That I didn't have to make him happy anymore because it certainly wasn't working, and the vice versa for him. And I thought that would make me happy, and yet still there was something in me that still wasn't terribly happy. I then met a nice man after having decided to stop dating not nice men, and so that would make me happy. But then the fear of going into another marriage that might, maybe, be like the last one nearly paralyzed me for a while. But each of these things, I realize as I'm looking back, that as I'm growing up and I dwell on the things that are negative, the things that didn't work out, the relationships that were bad, I was like digging a little rut of misery that I was living in. It was like the walls up, trench, I'm in my little rut of misery. And I'm thinking about negative thoughts. Going into a new relationship, I'm thinking about all the bad stuff from the past relationship into the current one. Because, wherever your mind is, that's of course where you are. And so all that dragging with me. But really I was unconscious, just literally unconscious to what I wanted, where my heart was. I was looking for happiness outside of myself. I was looking for a man to marry so that I'd be happy, a job that I liked so I'd be happy, progression in my job because once I, got a promotion, then I surely would be happy because I would have better control over my environment, my life. That, of course, would make me so much happier. The thing is that as I progressed in my work, I used to make castings, pouring metal into molds to make castings for jet engines, which doesn't seem likely if you know me now. But in fact, I did. My job was to design how the metal flowed into the mold so that the part became whole, and hopefully without holes in it, like air bubbles. But the more I progressed, because I was pretty successful at it, I did it for about 10 years, and the more successful I got, the more miserable I was, actually, because ultimately I realized that I really didn't like that work. Parts of it I just really didn't like, which was, I figured out later, was the part, the engineering part. I didn't really like that. I liked the other parts, the presenting information to customers, helping the people on the working floor do their work better, more efficiently. I like those parts. But, if you're an engineer, you really should like the engineering part because, you're an engineer. Anyway, so I noticed that about the time I got married that I really wasn't happy with my job. And even though I loved my husband-to-be, there was just something inside that was still not happy. It was like a turtle shell that I faced the world with, the turtle shell to protect me. And it seemed really strong and tough and all of that. But that thing gets poked at all, I would sink down into my misery and despair and just melt. And that is really no way to live. And luckily I found this church and the people here and Paul teaching inner light consciousness. And I learned a great deal about myself during that period of time. I recognized that happiness isn't going to come from something or someone. It's got to come from inside me first. I have to access that most inner part of myself that is love and bring that out for that happiness to come to me. And as I learned that I needed to take responsibility for my life. And that one is often very hard for people to recognize, that where they are right now, when they're miserable, they say, well, it's not my fault. I didn't do this on purpose. And of course, we don't do this on purpose. No one would make their lives miserable on purpose. But we do it because we're unconscious. We often run through our lives, even now, as I've stepped up in enlightenment and recognized, there's a lot of our lives that we go through in an unconscious manner. It's our daily rut, if you will. It may not be the misery rut you were in before, but it's still a rut to be looked at periodically and decide, is this where I want to be? Is this what I want to be doing? Is this accessing my love inside? Is that what I want to show the world? I learned that the responsibility is ours if you look at your life without judgment, without saying, I'm right for being where I am, I'm wrong for being where I am. Just look at it as, this is what it is. Do you like this part? Do you not like that part? What do you want to keep and what do you want to change? From way back then, I loved to dance. And I have kept that throughout. because it's a good, solid, supportive community of people that even today is showing. We have a person that's had a massive stroke and is in hospice care. And people have simply rallied around her without an organizational plan, a scheduling plan of any sort. She gets visited at least every day, if not 3 and 4 times a day. And that's a community of people that is, the core is pretty small, but the people that have ever danced with us over the last 20, 30 years, they have even come together to support her because she had danced that long. So if they ever knew her, they came to help, support, lend their love. It's that kind of community that I see in my life that I wish to keep as I am. Even when I was miserable, I recognized the value in that. And now that I'm more enlightened and more happy, I still see the great value in that. As I learned to take responsibility, I recognized that wherever I am, I need to take the step to shift my life. But really, it's not even a step or doing something, it's a shift in perspective. Because I was thinking of happiness somewhat like a rainbow. How beautiful they are, all the colors. At my husband and I 20th anniversary party, there was a double rainbow outside. So we all went outside and looked. It was great. And they always lift us up when we see them, don't they? But I was thinking they're like happiness in that you can see them, they feel great, they look great, but you can't ever touch them. By their nature, you cannot touch a rainbow, which I found fascinating. Because then I had to go look up rainbows and what they really are, they are a reflection and a refraction of light from a droplet of rain. So you have to have sun and rain in the same spot. And, this is a little tidbit I had forgotten, surely, that a rainbow is really a circle, but it's obscured by the ground. I found that fascinating. Something I'm sure I knew in 5th grade, but, how long has it been since I thought about that? But as the droplet is round, as it reflects the light, it would make a round shape. And so when they're seen from the air, you can actually see pictures of them being round because this ground isn't obscuring them. The most fascinating thing I found out about rainbows is that if someone is standing right next to me seeing the same rainbow, I'm seeing a rainbow, I'm seeing my rainbow from my perspective. This other person is seeing the rainbow from their perspective because it is from you that you are interacting with the droplet, the reflection of the droplet from the rain, and you see your rainbow. So I consider that somewhat like happiness because we know it when we have it, but it seems very elusive when we don't. It seemed when I was in my unconscious rut of misery, I never knew when I could find happiness again. And it would come and it would go, but it seemed out of my control as to how to find it again. But once I realized that taking responsibility for where I was in life, one of those things was responsibility for my happiness. Deciding, essentially, to be happy. Looking how I can be happier and happier. And over time, I learned that as you look around in your life and you see different problems here and there, you're shifting your perspective. stand in the other guy's place looking at the rainbow. Shifting your perspective, shifting your beliefs, little by little, over the time, can help you be happier. Because as I, let's say, believe that my father, who wasn't very demonstrative, and I believe he probably said I love you somewhere in my lifetime, but is that an experience I remember? No. So if I decide my dad doesn't love me, that's much harder to emote love for my father, let's say, than if I decide to take on the belief that my father loves me. He just can't communicate it the way that I would like it, or the way that I can perceive it. Would that not be an easier way for me to interact with my father in a more loving way? Shifting your beliefs, you have to shift it to something you actually can believe. Okay, shifting my belief to, I'm going to win $600 million tomorrow. It's not really something I can believe. But about my father, I can believe that he was simply unable. And over the years, I have completely decided that my father absolutely showed me love in the only way that he knew how. He had a horrible family life. His father was never home. Kept a woman around the corner. Wow. Sorry. So what my father did, because he loved us. Wow, sorry. He was home every night. He had a good job, and he was always with us. Did he hug us a lot? No. Did he tell us he loved us a lot? No. Did he come to the beach and play with us a lot? No. But in his mind, he did what his father did not do, and what he wanted. He wanted a dad that was there and who supported the family. And that's what my father did. So how does my belief, my shift in belief, I don't know if you can feel that, my love for my father can come out easier if I hang on to that belief. In more recent terms, if I used to be, if someone was yelling at me, and really 10 years as an engineer, believe me, plenty of people yelling at me, I would certainly have taken that personally and thought they were mean or bad or whatever. But I have over the years realized through the classes that I took here, the inner light consciousness, that when someone's angry at you, when they're yelling at you in front of your face, they want something. They want something to be different than it is now. And they're so frustrated that they can't get it to change. And so recognizing that, believing that in my mind, in my soul, I can now stand and have somebody yelling at me, and my mind is thinking, oh, this person wants something to be different. Oh, how can I help them make this change? Or can I help them make this change? Because sometimes I can't. I can't help them. But if I can, I try to help them, whether they're yelling at me or not. Because it's a communication. If they aren't able to communicate in a way that I would like, they are at least making some attempt to communicate. And my belief that they want something to be different, and how can I help, helps me love them. Helps me be happier as I'm standing there getting yelled at. You know what I mean? That really is quite a shift in life, and my experience of life is just simply being able to recognize even people that are unhappy, that they're doing what they need to be doing. They aren't actually doing this to hurt me, to hang me up, whatever. They are doing what they need to do. And if I can keep that in mind, then as I interact with people, I can stay happier longer. And that to me is the most valuable thing, because I spent, I don't know, how old was I when I came here? I was like 32 when I came here, and I was still pretty miserable. And so over the years, as I've used the inner light consciousness concepts, taking responsibility for where I am, for my own happiness, then I have become happier. I said this just a couple weeks ago in the ILC moment, that I'm kind of like an orange. On the outside, I look like an orange. I'm generally happy. On the inside, those slices inside, okay, one or two of those might not be that happy, but on any given topic. But generally, I'm a happy person. And as this talk came to me, I, of course, have had my attention drawn to a couple of those slices and why it is I'm not happy with this or that or the other thing. But when I look at it, it's still these areas that I'm not taking responsibility for. Because we often think, well, it's not my fault. My boss, my parents, my ex, whatever, put me right where I am. Well, whatever the other person is doing, you can say yes or no. You can stay, you can go. You can talk back, you can stay silent. Whatever you do, it is a choice. Making no choice is a choice. Allowing someone else to decide for you is a choice. And once you can grasp that and accept that as what you have been doing, not right or wrong, just simply what you have been doing, believe me, it's a freeing moment to recognize that, oh, I did do that. I did let my ex-husband do that to me, or for me, or get me into this position. Wow, I don't have to do that anymore. I can move on the way I want to move on. And that's what I've done for the most part, is looking for things that I can be around and dwell upon that are happier. It's kind of like having an employee. You maximize their strengths and then you manage their weaknesses. It's the same for yourself. There are some areas that you're strong and happy on, and other areas that you're not so strong or happy on. And so dwelling on the things that you're weak about simply draws more negativity to that weakness. And so as you can manage that, but focus more on moving ahead, how can I shift that so that I feel more comfortable? That's where you're going to make progress. I have my little talk right now here. Haven't looked at it once yet. So. No wonder. So as we look at taking responsibility and shifting how we are with people, because it really comes from shifting our mindset, shifting our beliefs about a person, a situation. When at this church we've had difficult times in the past, and I've gone into meditation to say, how can I at least not add to this problem? And I get an answer, and I hear it's a shift in my perspective. I'm there to help, but not to add to the anger. Be as positive and loving as I can. And the situations often resolve themselves on their own, which is really great. Because the less intervention by anyone, the better. But I guess I'd like to say that each step that I've taken, every shift of belief that I have given to myself, I've become happier and happier. I really decided to be happy because I don't know if you've heard the saying that a happy person can be in a bad situation and be unhappy for a little while, but eventually they'll be happy again, even in the same situation, because they think, why be in this horrible situation and be unhappy too? Okay. I'm trying to be that person. I'm somewhere in the middle. I should have a marquee up here, work in progress, because it's work that I love. I don't ever stop trying to learn and grow and become more happy. As I said in the beginning, when you're happy, you're expressing more love, and I hope to be doing more of that, yes. Oh, let's see. Can't seem to find where I am. Okay. So as we look at being happy and shifting our beliefs, that's a gift that you can give yourself. That gift of another step towards happiness, another step towards finding that love that's deep inside of you. Getting to know yourself enough, that innermost part of yourself that is connected to the all, that is love, to express that with joy and happiness. And progressing, even though it's little step by little step sometimes, that is a gift you give yourself every day. At least you can give yourself. Every one of us has that ability to choose to be happier every day. Please give yourself the gift of happiness every day. Thank you.
Great.